Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of 366 2020. Let's talk about 3 more movies, shall we? Green Jello Sux Live is a Kickstarter-funded documentary about the rock band Green Jello, also known as Green Jelly, because they got sued by Kraft Foods. The band had a novelty hit called Three Little Pigs, which came out in the early 90s, I'd say. Some of my younger viewers are probably Googling this as we speak to see what the hell I'm talking about. Yes, the Three Little Pigs voice in that song is Maynard James Keenan. One of this band's early drummers was Danny Carey. This is why Tool exists. This is how they met. Man, Tool is an infinitely better band than this one. So when it boils down to it, Green Jelly, or Green Jello, is one guy. His name is Bill Manspeaker, and he is a character. He decided very early on that rock bands weren't what they were cracked up to be, so instead of having one touring group which has all the instruments he needs, it's basically him and his son, Damien, and they travel around and find musicians wherever they land, and the musicians they find become Green Jello. This has led him to have some odd 600 current and active members of the band. The movie portrays this as being great for the musicians because they have normal 9-to-5 jobs, and then Bill flies in and they live a rock and roll lifestyle for 3 or 4 days, and then they go back to their normal jobs. Bill's life seems chaotic, but he doesn't seem to think of it that way. But this band has an interesting history and a very interesting current business model. The problem is this movie's just not very well put together. Like I said, it was Kickstarter funded, it was put together by fans, and you could tell it was a first draft of a movie by a first filmmaker. It has a lot of concert footage, and that's what this movie started out as being a concert film. The problem becomes that the concert footage, over the course of the movie, becomes very repetitive and dull in a way. Bill has a way of stopping a song in the middle, having his son play banjo only as he yells at the crowd to do certain things. Whether it's a call and response or a circle pit, all the songs in the movie have the same pattern to them, and they drag on for a while. This movie is at its best when it's talking about the history of the band and showing old footage, which is all intriguing, all very interesting, but too often the movie gets sidetracked by interstitials, and also by the band's current makeup. These interstitials seem like YouTube videos played in the middle of a movie. Lloyd Kaufman from Troma Films keeps showing up in this movie, and it doesn't seem like he knows what Green Jello is, and he's trying to make a connection, but he doesn't seem to know what the connection is, and it's rambling and goes on forever, which are also criticisms you could probably make for me. But I wondered what the point was through all those segments. There's one interstitial where they talk about how they make their puppets, which is all interesting enough. But the movie keeps returning to his current pattern of having so many active members of the band, and as if this is the way to do things. It's a way to do things, but I don't think it's as creative and as innovative as the movie really thinks it is. And the movie is nearly 2 hours long. It's entirely too long. There's points where it does things, and I thought, why are we doing this? There's a point in the film where they have graphics on the screen that say Green Jello Vision, and it's like a GoPro camera, but they introduce it way too late, and I don't know why that's Green Jello Vision and the other camera shots in the movie aren't. This all reeks of a not very good filmmaker throwing anything at the wall to see what sticks. And it's too much. This movie could have been edited down to an hour and a half and been perfectly fine. The Stanford Prison Experiment is a 2015 film starring Billy Crudup and Ty Sheridan and Ezra Miller. It is about an experiment about prisons that was done at Stanford. It's a rather famous experiment. From the experiment's Wikipedia page, it was a social psychology experiment that attempted to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power, focusing on the struggle between prisoners and prison officers. It famously was supposed to go on for 2 weeks, but only lasted 6 days. Two groups of male students were hired. Half of them became prisoners, half of them became prison guards, and they played out the experiment to see what happens between the prisoners and the prison guards if left to their own devices. Of course, all of this was ethically and scientifically dubious at best, which is the struggle that the scientists have behind the scenes. All the while, the prison circles into chaos, quickly becomes very violent and raw. I liked this movie. I liked the performances within it, even if it was a little on the long side. It is unbelievable that this lasted 6 days given the circumstances of what was happening within their experiment. But all the actors in this movie runs like a laundry list of people we've seen before in this series. I've seen all these character actors, and they're all great here. But the movie is drugged down by its running time. It just feels too long. Sometimes taking a great movie to a fine movie is just pacing, and this movie has that problem. The Babadook is the directorial and writing debut of Australian filmmaker Jennifer Kent. And this movie is intensely unsettling. It is a dark and terrifying horror movie. This movie gets under your skin throughout its running time and just is chilling. It's a story of a mother and her son. There is a tragic accident that happens in their history, and because of this accident, the son is acting out in school. He's dealing with the problem poorly, and this affects the mother completely. One night, the son wants his mother to read him a bedtime story, so he picks one off the shelf and brings it to her. It is a very creepy book called Mr. Babadook. And as it says in the book, by reading the book, you are inviting this creature into your house. This is not a horror movie that is based on jump scares. This is based on silence, which is way more terrifying. If you're afraid of the things that go bump in the night, this is the movie for you. It's a well-acted, very beautifully shot film. Although it takes place in modern day, it has an almost gothic feel to it. And the movie has a way of using practical effects and sound to get under your skin. Some of the sound in this movie is terrifying. It's one of those movies that gives you goose pimples and makes the hair on the back of your head stand up. Of course, with the COVID cut, all my hair is standing up these days. But this movie could be taken as a great creature feature, and you could just leave it at that. But if you look deeper, this is a very nuanced movie about the role of grief within a relationship. It's a deeply layered film, and it has rewatchability because of this. This is not a movie that is a horror movie in the strictest sense. You can read more into it if you want to. And it plays on both levels very, very well. This is an ingenious and haunting debut. It's great. And that is yet another episode. We're moving along. I'm getting there. Have you guys ever met Mr. Babadook? I'll see you down in the comments. Thanks for watching, you guys. See you next time.